it's an honor.
And it's an honor to lift our voice and sing
To the living God.
to the living God.
No one can deny
No one can deny
that Jesus Christ.
Jesus Christ is the Most High.
Let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go.
So, we've been in this series, and it's coming to a close today. God has pulled us toward understanding what it really means to be Christmas. I think what I heard God saying to me is that we've kind of got into the routine of doing Christmas and going through the routine of doing Christmas, that at some point we kind of lost what it meant to actually be Christmas. And so we, for the past 4 weeks, just really delved down into what Christmas is about. We started by talking about the fact that Christmas is about Jesus, and everything that we do during this holiday time period needs to in some way or another point back toward Jesus. And it's about worshiping God for sending Jesus here. Dr. Lyons came a couple weeks ago and he talked with us about the why of the season. Why do we celebrate this season? And the why is because God so loved us that he gave and he saved us from the condition that we were in. And so the why of this season is all about love. And that's what this is all about, love. And then last week, I came and talked with you guys about the action of the season. So if love, God so loved the world, is the why of the season, the action is he gave a generous act of kindness. And so during this season, I talked to you guys last week about us being more generous than ever. Not just being gift givers, but being generous, looking out past our own selves and seeing people who are in need. And I began to think about what I wanted to talk with you about this week. And I am amazed at what this season has become. Think about this now. We have taken the birthday of arguably the most non-materialistic person in the history of the world, and we made this holiday about materialism. And we made this holiday into a very hectic time, a time of running around and getting stuff and getting places. And my guess is we got more places to go between now and Sunday, don't we? We have taken the birthday of what is arguably the most peaceful man to ever walk the face of the earth, and we've introduced a lot of stress and chaos and running here and running there and doing this and doing that. And I got to thinking about that this week because everything that we read talks about the fact that Jesus is the Prince of Peace. And I'll be honest with you, I don't feel so peaceful during this season, ever. And what God began to say to me is that there are people that during this season are going to a great deal of stress and grief and shame. And what I want to talk to you about today is, in order for us to be Christmas, we've got to learn to be peaceful. My guess is, and I don't know everybody's situation, but my guess is if we sat down and got to the bottom of the thing that was causing you the most stress, that was keeping you up at night, that was causing you to be unhappy, if we got down to the bottom of that and we said, what is the one gift that you would want from God? My guess is it won't be money. It won't be more stuff. It'll be peace. My guess is if you could sit down with God and say, I need one thing for my marriage. I need one thing to kind of help me in a relationship with my children or with my parents. I need one thing to help me with my siblings. I need one thing to help me at work. And if we really sat down and really delved down into it, And everybody's answer in here would be peace. If I just had a little bit more peace in my marriage, if I just had a little bit more peace raising these children, if I just had a little bit more peace dealing with this parent, if I had just a little bit more peace at work, my life would be tremendous. That's a promise of peace. Let's go back and read Isaiah chapter 9, verses 6 and 7. He says, "For unto us a child is born," talking about us. "Unto us a son is given, and the government will be upon his shoulders, and his name will be called Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, Prince of Peace." And he goes a little bit further. In verse 7, he says, "Of the increase." See, once he's born, there's going to be this increase of his government, his kingdom, and peace, there will be no end. Listen, what he's saying to us, now we got to think about this now, because if we believe what Isaiah said back then, we've got to buy the whole prophecy. What Isaiah says to us is that one day there's going to be this child. This child will be born by a virgin. And this child will be the Prince of Peace. And the peace that he'll bring to each one of us will be increasing, and there will be no end to it. And if we believe that Jesus is the Messiah, that he was born of a virgin, then we've got to account for the fact that we have a peace deficit. And I just wanted to make sure I wasn't missing anything. I wanted to look a little bit more at this word that's being used for peace. This is the word, and I can actually pronounce this Greek word, shalom. And what this word means is that it is a state of completeness, of soundness, and of welfare. And what the author Isaiah is saying to us is that the birth of this child will be the Prince of Peace. And what he will do is, for each one of us, we're triune beings. We have a spiritual side, we have a mental side, and we have a physical side. And the birth of this Prince of Peace, this Messiah, this Jesus Christ, would come in and would give us peace in all three areas. He would make us complete with God. He would put us in right relationship, because before this birth, we were out of it. We were at odds with God. We had no way to get into the kingdom. We were going this way, and God was going this way. But then this baby's born. And so spiritually now we are complete. Not just complete, but soundness. Paul says in Philippians 2 that we have to take on the mind of Christ. He says that if you want peace in your life, you take on the mind and the qualities of Christ, you'll live in peace. If we can learn how to sacrifice, how to put others above us. Just think about the things that you struggle with, the things that bring you grief. How would they change if we humbled ourselves, if we took the path of humility, if we served others, if we took on the mind of Christ? But it also talks to our welfare. It talks about our well-being. It's about having the natural man met. And what Jesus does, this birth of Jesus, it answers all three of our needs for peace. It gives us complete shalom. So why are you not at peace? Why do you not feel peace? So what I did, I went through, there's like 700 and some different uses of this word peace. And I was able to see throughout the scripture that there are generally 4 barriers of peace. And I believe that these barriers still impact us today from having peace. The first barrier is sorrow. You go through something and it is so bad, or you don't get something, or you lose something, and it is so bad in your life that you focus so much on the sorrow that you do not move forward, and it just takes away from all your peace. My guess is if you're going through some sorrowful right now, money won't change it. New people won't change it. It is a pain that you cannot change with nothing but peace. The next one is spite. Somebody does something to you, you get angry with somebody, and you get rejected, and you hold unforgiveness against a person. And this unforgiveness that you hold doesn't bother the person at all. But it stops you from having peace. You can't sleep at night because you're sitting there thinking about this person and how they wronged you. And then there's stress. We're so worried about being this place at this time and getting this and achieving this and doing that. And then finally there's shame. You've made some kind of mistake. You've got some kind of sin, some kind of addiction. And between these four things, whether it be sorrow, spite, stress, or shame, our peace is being robbed. And what I want you guys to understand today is that Jesus died so you don't have to live in sorrow. When he went up on that cross, he wiped away your sorrow. He told you then that I would do anything to make sure that you get through anything that you go through. When Jesus died, he wiped away spite. He showed you what it means to forgive. How not to live in unforgiveness. When Jesus died, he wiped away your stress. He said, listen, don't worry about tomorrow. I got you. I'm going to provide for you. I'm going to take care of you. I'm going to be there with you. And when Jesus died, and this is the one we need to get, he wiped away the shame. Doesn't matter what you've done in the past. It doesn't matter what mistakes you've made. Jesus died for you, for your mistakes, for your issues. He died to break the chains on your addictions. He died so that you can have victory in anything that comes against you, whether it be generational things or brand new things or things that are coming against you in your life. And Jesus died to wipe all that stuff away. So I got to thinking about this. I said, how do we remove these barriers to our peace? How do we get to a place where we remove the barriers and we can be at peace? We can be at peace in all areas of our life. And I came across this teaching in Philippians chapter 4, verses 4 through 9. We'll run through this with you real quick. Verse 4, it says, rejoice in the Lord always. I say it again, rejoice. He says we have to learn how to have joy in all situations. It doesn't matter what we're going through or what we're faced with. We have to learn how to find the joy, the little pieces of joy around us. And I thought about that for a second, because when you've lost somebody or you've lost something important to you, it is very hard for you to have joy, especially during Christmas season. And what God began to say to me is, I'm not telling you to have joy in your loss. I'm telling you to learn how to focus on things around you that bring you joy. He says, let your graciousness be made known to everyone. Why? Because the Lord is near. And what God is saying to us, what Paul was saying to us over 2,000 years ago is we need to be kind. We don't need to hold grudges. We don't need to hold unforgiveness. Why? Because God is watching you. He says, don't worry about anything, but in everything through prayer and petition with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known to God. He says, don't worry. Stop worrying. Stop stressing out. Stop worrying about things. Instead, pray. And he gives us some advice. He says, pray from a place of thanksgiving. Go to God and say, not give me, not help me, but Lord, thank you. Last time I got to this juncture and we thought we were going to lose the house, you made a way. The last time we tried to have a baby and we couldn't, you made a way. You go to God and you say, thank you. The last time they threatened to fire us all, you made a way. And what Paul says is, if we will not worry, if we will rejoice, if we'll be kind to each other, then the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, every thought, will guard your hearts and minds in Christ Jesus. What Paul tells us, if we just would not worry, if we would just find joy in everything that we're doing, if we would just be kind to each other, that this overwhelming peace will come in, and it would not only be a peace that you will feel, but it will guard your heart. goes a little bit further in verse 8. He says, finally, brothers and sisters. You're not out of this one. Whatever is true, whatever is honorable, whatever is just, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is commendable. If there's any moral excellence and if there is any praise, dwell on these things. And what he talks to us about is getting our minds off the mistakes that we've made and getting our minds out of the addictions and the chains that hold us back by focusing on good things. By looking at what a good person you are, by speaking to yourself and encouraging yourself in the good things that you've done. Stop looking back at the mistakes that you've made. Stop looking at your addictions and thinking that those things have power over you. But focus on the things that are commendable and the things that are good and the things that are pure. And if we do that, then if we do what we've learned and received and heard and seen in me, the God of peace will be with you. And what Paul does is he gives us a formula for living a life of peace. And he starts by saying, if we make joy greater than sorrow, we'll find peace. If we get in a situation where we lose something and we focus on the things that are going right around us instead of the thing that we lost or the thing that we didn't get, then peace will begin to come in. He says that if we make kindness greater than spite, we'll find peace. He says that if we make a focus on being thankful greater than stress, we'll find peace. He says if we make doing the right thing, if we really live a life by which we focus on doing the right things and we focus on acknowledging our doing the right things, and we make that greater than shame, he says we'll find peace. Now check this out. Because when I sat there studying this, God began to show me some things. And one of the things that he showed me is that even in this audience, that there is a couple, and you're considering divorce. That there were periods in which you had peace, followed by periods in which you had a lot of back and forth and anger and arguments, followed by periods of peace, followed by arguments and hatefulness. And over time, these periods of peace have become short and far between. And these periods of hurt and pain have become frequent and long. He showed me, he said that there is a child here that is being bullied. And all you want is for you to have just a little bit of peace in your life. You just don't want people to bother you. You don't have to be totally accepted. You don't have to be the coolest kid in town. You just don't want people bothering you anymore. You just want peace. He showed me that there is families here who have lost husbands, wives, children, grandparents, and you are suffering through this season. And all that you want is a little bit of peace. And when God began to show me that, so much hurt, so much pain, so much stress, I began to pray because it became so heavy on me that I said, hey, God, I cannot walk out before these people because it is very easy to tell somebody to look for joy, but when they've lost somebody, not so easy for them to do. It's very easy for me to say, be kind to somebody who hurt you, who molested you, who beat you, who left you, who rejected you. Sometimes that's hard to do. It's hard to be thankful sometimes when so many things are falling down around you. And it's hard sometimes to do the right thing when you're addicted to something. It's hard to let go of mistakes that you made in the past when the enemy brings shame on you. And what God did is he gave me revelation. He took me back to Isaiah, same verse, chapter 9, same verse, verse 6. And he had me to read it again. And so I read it. It says, for unto us a child is born, unto us a son is given, and the government will be upon his shoulders, and his name will be called Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, Prince of Peace. And I read it over and over and over and over again. And then God spoke to me. And you know what he said? In your marriage, in your pain, in your living, you want for Jesus to be the Prince of Peace. But maybe there's some order to this. Maybe what Isaiah was communicating to us is there is some order, because we want God to be our Prince of Peace. But are we willing to make him our Wonderful Counselor first? Are we willing to bring Jesus into our marriage and make Jesus our wonderful marriage counselor? I'm talking about two people focused on nothing but Christ, nothing but what the Bible says, moving toward Christ together. What would that do for peace in your marriage? He said, you want perfect peace in raising these children, but you don't want to make me, Jesus Christ, your family counselor. No, you want to read a book about it, or you want to go online, or you want to go on Facebook, you want to get advice through Google. He says, you want me to bring you peace into your sorrow. But do they realize that 1/3 of the Bible is written on sorrow? That no matter what you've lost in this season, and no matter what you will lose, that there is stories, rich information that can help you get through anything. That talking to Jesus about your sorrow, about your pain, talking to Jesus about your marriage, about raising your kids, talking to Jesus about your sister, about your brother, and making him the Wonderful Counselor is the first step to perfect peace. He says you've got some people who want me to bring peace, but won't make me their God. They won't follow any of my commandments. They won't do any of the things that I've asked them to do. They won't worship me. They put other things above me. They look to other things to help them out. He said you got people who want peace, perfect peace, the Prince of Peace, but won't make me their father. They won't trust me. They won't believe that I will come through in the clutch, that I've never lost a battle. And what God began to show me is, many times we want to skip past putting God as the counselor, putting God as our God, putting God as our Father, and go right to the peace. But there is no peace until you make Jesus your counselor. There's no peace in your life until you make him your king. I'm talking to somebody. I want you to imagine what your marriage is going to be like if you would make Jesus your wonderful marriage counselor. I'm talking to somebody who is getting ready to get a divorce, and the reason for the divorce is irreconcilable differences, which translate to there's no peace in my house. I want you to imagine what it's going to be like raising your children with peace in the house, with Jesus as your wonderful counselor. Imagine what it's going to be like dealing with your parents, dealing with people at work. Imagine what your life is going to be different. Imagine what this church whether it be Grace Crossings or Uplift, will be like when we make Jesus our counselor and make him our king? But before you give up on that child, try making Jesus your counselor. Before you give up on that mate, try making Jesus your king. Take down the things that you've put up. That's where your stress is coming from. You've put things above Jesus, whether it's a job or a house or kids or whatever. And that is causing you the stress. And I will tell you right now, no more houses, no more cars, no more money. None of that's going to change your situation. But if peace just came into your marriage, if peace came into your child rearing, if peace came into your house and stayed for a little while, wouldn't that make a difference? So, I want to leave you with this. If you make Jesus your counselor and king, he will give you peace in all things. That's what this season is about. That's what tomorrow is about. It's about making Jesus, that baby that was born in the manger, our counselor and our king. And by doing that, I don't care what's broken. Listen, there is no Humpty Dumpty scenario. Your marriage is not too broken. Your relationship with your children, not too broken. The mistakes that you've made have not broken you too bad. Your shame has not broken you so bad that God cannot put it all back together again. But the first step tonight is for us to make a decision. And that decision is a very simple decision. Make Jesus your counselor. No matter what you're going through, turn to the Word of God and make him your king. And anything that is above him right now in your life, pull it down. To God be the glory.
Here we stand in the presence of our Savior.
Listen up
And it's an honor to lift our voice and sing
to the living God.
to the living God.
No one can
No
deny
one can deny
that Jesus Christ
Jesus